Terry Colath. I'm here today with Professor Adrian Kehr. I hope you were able to join us for the prelude to the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. If not, you might want to get started on the history of the United States this week, because we're going to start with the original dwellers in North America. Thanks for joining me, Adrian.
Always a pleasure to come to Shell Point. Thank you, Terry.
So you're going to start with the original dwellers. You're starting with the people.
Yes, and America got started very late. The original denizens of the North and South America came across the Bering Straits, or did they?
Yeah.
There's debate. We'll talk about the options here and how did they get across. But once they did come across around 14,000 BC, they moved very swiftly down to South America. And then we start to see the civilizations they created. As we know, we have the great Central American civilizations, but also some interesting North American civilizations. I'm using the proper sense of the word. In Kohoutek is just a wonderful site and view of the St. Louis. That was the largest city in the North America for hundreds of years before the East Coast colonial cities grew up. And yet it went away. And we'll talk about why such a great city of tens of thousands of people just became uninhabited. Of course, the conquistadors and Mr. Columbus opened up the New World to Europe, and there was a mad scramble to settle in the central part, and of course then they spread up and spread south right down to southern Argentina and beyond, and then they started moving north because of El Dorado. There was this wonderful myth that the Indians, the Aztecs and others had stockpiled enormous amounts of gold and were keeping it away from the conquistadors. So you get these great entrepreneurs heading north to the Grand Canyon and to Southern California and not finding much gold, but exploring ever upwards, hence the Spanish influence in the south and southern part of the United States. Well, Spain had divided up the world with Portugal. So Portugal got the eastern half hemisphere of the earth, and Spain got the western hemisphere, agreed to by the Pope. So that's a done deal, everybody's happy. Well, no, they weren't, because the other maritime powers, England, France, they, and even Denmark and Sweden, they all had maritime expectations, and Scotland, I shouldn't leave them out.
Holland.
And Holland, yes. So anybody who is on the coast had ships and an interest in moving west. And so we finished this particular session with how the peace broke out between England and Spain, Philip II and James. And after that, the Spanish said, we will, as long as you stop raiding our treasure ships, we will allow you to have colonies in Northern America. That's your area. But we want to hold on to Florida because we want to develop Disney World. So that was the end of that particular session, where the European powers start to, without harassment from Spain, developing interests in the New World.
And each of those countries' effects on the New World are fascinating.
Yeah, each had aspirations to build an empire in the New World in North America.
Fascinating. All right, and well, we hope you'll join us starting out with Session 1, History of the United States to 1815.